Welcome, lovely one, to the Meant for More podcast. My name's Lisa Clifford, and I am building the world's most empowering Meant for More movement, leading millions of heart-led purpose seekers from feeling insignificant to invincible. So I truly hope you enjoy this next episode. And in this next episode, we have Katrijn Tack. Katrijn is an expert in learning and development and empowerment. And forgive me for reading this, but I wanted to get it right. She's passionate about learning and development with a life's mission to empower people to discover their strengths, their talents, and authentic voice. What drives her every day is the belief that no talent or dream should be overlooked, lost, or wasted. So please enjoy our conversation. And Kat, so lovely to have you here. And I know it was only a few weeks since we last saw each other, which for me has been far too long. So Kat and I saw each other at Lendrit Lodge on a Sundor Train the Trainer training. I was supporting and Kat was doing the training, and we instantly hit it off, but when we actually started speaking, we instantly hit it off. When we have had so much in common that, it's one of those moments where, life has put you exactly where you're meant to be. So Kat, I like to start with this question because I would love to know, because I don't actually know the answer to this question, a time in your life, one of the times in your life where you have felt that you were meant for more, and what did you do with that feeling, with that thought? Did you take action? What was it? Take us on a journey.
Oh, it's been a journey. Lovely to see you as well, first of all, definitely. Because indeed it feels already too long ago. And I'm sure we will come back probably to the training a little bit more as well during this conversation. But yeah, lovely question, right? When did you know you were meant for more? And when I think about it, I instantly, and maybe it was not exactly that moment, but I instantly always go back to actually 10 years ago. Like this summer, it's been 10 years ago that I had the opportunity to receive and attend empowerment training myself. The aerobraking training was done at that time. And I mean, 20 years old, the synchronicities were there as well, because very shortly before that, I joined my study, actually, transpersonal psychology, that I studied in the Netherlands. So they all fall like nicely into place together in like this timeline, actually, in where I was in my life. So 20 years old, receiving that training is quite impressive. At that age, because you're in full development, you're in the search of yourself, in the search of what are you going to do next. So getting that kind of training really hit it off. And the experience itself is, of course, everlasting. I mean, you will always remember the first arrow that you break. It's a very impressive experience itself. But it was linked to a training about letting go of your limiting beliefs, which was so powerful. And just in that instance, I mean, people always talk about, and I recently just actually had this conversation as well with a friend of mine, that we have this image of love, that when you meet someone, like in the first couple of hours or even in the first instance, you look at them and you know, this is like the love of my life. And that's the feeling that I had with that training. Like I just instantly fell in love with the practices, with the teachings, with the methodologies, with the impact it left, not only with me then, but with the whole group. And I just saw the beautiful connection as well between that and my studies that I then just started as well. I saw these empowerment tools as a practical and real life tangible experience to actually a spiritual or more spiritual mindsets, beliefs, ancient practices, whatever it might be actually that it means. So I felt that through empowerment tools, we could give people a first-hand spiritual experience without having to put it out there that it's like a spiritual thing that you do. So yeah, I fell in love that day, 10 years ago. That's when I knew I was meant for more, and that I took massive action towards that.
What a lovely way to put that, when you fall in love and it's that instant feeling of love, and that's what you felt towards it. It's almost like a knowing that you already had, that you were reconnected back to something that you knew belonged within you, isn't it? And when you say, there's so much I want to ask, because at 20, what an incredible awareness to know that this is for you. Because at 20, there's so many new things in life, isn't there? So there's so much that you don't know, and we're really keen at that age, I think, to get as much knowledge under our belts, so life starts to have a familiarity, because I think we're in a proving stage as well, to ourselves and to others. So first of all, I think how incredible that you had that awareness at 20. And I've always said about you, and I know lots of people say it about you as well, is that you're so wise beyond your years, like an old soul, but I mean it in like a frequent flyer soul. And then the other thing I want to ask about is about what spirituality meant to you at 20 or back then, because it's almost a word that we say hesitantly and then see how it lands as to whether we dare mention spirituality, the universe, God, angels, or anything ever again, don't we? We kind of put it there and just see what somebody's reaction. What was it to you?
Ooh. What was it to me? I mean, in some kind of way, that journey even started earlier. And when people ask me that question, actually, I always as well go back to a specific moment. I think I was like 15-ish, something like that I had to do a book assignment at school. So like this book review, I'm not quite sure how you call it. Like you read this book and then you have to make this paper and this review and like present the book that you have read. And I mean, I never went well in school. I had my rough years as well in school, but I was just completely not interested. The school system is one of my big allergies that I have developed. Maybe later more on that as well, as it's part of my purpose that it now became. So school was never my thing. And I was only like a week before the book assignment. Of course, you know, there's like 2 months up front, but you have to wait until the last moment. I didn't have anything. So I went upstairs in my mom's book shelf. And the first thing that I saw was, how was it called? The Bernini Mystery of Dan Brown. The one that later got in a movie like Angels and Demons.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that one. And it just spoke to me. So I started reading it. And there please don't quote me on this. I mean, this has been like 15 years ago or something that I haven't read the book. But he was talking indeed about, ancient practices within the Freemasons and the Illuminati and anything like that, which started like piquing my interests in more like history in that kind of way. In what they did, what they stand for, and anything like that. And that's a little bit where the research actually began, and where I started to pick an interest in everything that sounds more alternative. Let's put it like that. At that age, that's how you look at it at that age. And okay, 15, 16, you go on a little bit, you start piquing your interest a little bit here and there in those kind of things. And then it was time to make a decision if I wanted to study anything beyond, of course. And that's where I found then transpersonal psychology, by luck, call it luck, synchronicities, the square centimeters that life gives you.
I love that.
Right?
That saying that Kat has just said, excuse me, that there was an American anthropologist that studied with a native tribe. Is that right? And he worked out that in life, that life offers that there are moments, like it's moments in life where it offers us a square centimetre chance opportunity, that if we have the courage to grab that square centimetre, our life and lives can be transformed in an instant.
Absolutely.
And it's
Yes.
that you said it so fleetingly. However, I know it's how you live your life, which is why you say it so fleetingly, because it's like, oh, I don't, it's not just a one-off. For you, it's that you see the square centimetre in any moment where it's there. And so, sorry to interrupt you there. So I think that that is also a gift, to have that perspective in life, that curiosity, and maybe even that question to ourselves of, if there was a square centimetre chance right now, an opportunity, where would it be? What would it be? How would I see it? And what action would I take? And
Exactly.
so I interrupted you right in the flow of that. You grab the square centimetre chance opportunity.
Yes, indeed. And
To do what?
it was, yeah. I mean, like you say, it's kind of how I've been living my life since that moment, since the last
Yeah.
10 years, indeed, these square centimeters flowing around. But so, yeah, I took the opportunity to start my studies, transpersonal psychology in the Netherlands. And that's, of course, where it all begins. I mean, transpersonal psychology, you study everything that goes beyond the persona, everything that goes beyond our physical experiences. So that was a beautiful, more philosophical and philosophical kind of study, actually, rather than it was something very practical. Which I truly enjoyed. And then, yeah, you look at spirituality, to come back actually to the initial question that you asked. To them, what spirituality means in that kind of moment is to almost reconnect, I would say, not connect, but reconnect with something that is bigger than us. I think that's how you look at it, or how I look now back at it, with my view on there's so much more. And mostly there's so much more in our potential, in human potential as well. And I wanna witness and find that own limitless potential. And that can only be found outside of the normal streams of thinking and doing. I think, yeah.
In your transpersonal psychology, everything that you've learned in it, what do you feel has been the most fascinating aspect for you, that has stayed with you forever, that plays out in our psychology, in the people that you see? Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you would like to be involved in the Meant for More movement, then please drop me a line at lisa@lisaclifford.co.uk. Whether that's you're interested in being on the podcast, taking part in any of the trainings, or would just love to know how you can help empower others, then let's have a conversation. Thank you for listening, and we'll connect again very soon.
It's a very hard one, because it's knowing that this study was simultaneously with my whole journey of becoming an empowerment trainer and working with the tools. It was such a connected journey that almost didn't, it was so interconnected.
Yes.
Like, I don't see these kind of years, and that was on 5 years actually that I'm now talking about, of my studies and amongst or alongside my training career. It was one journey. It wasn't two separate things that I was doing. So it's a very hard question, and try to distinguish which teachings did you got out of the school or out of the lessons and out of the study, and which one were
If you
from the
put
other
it all
journey.
into then what fascinates you continuously about our mind?
How we trick ourselves.
Love that.
I think that's the first thing that comes up in my head. How we trick ourselves constantly. In how we sabotage ourselves, actually, if you can say it like that. And
Yeah.
it goes on so many levels. And that's as well where what I mean with like this connection between the trainings and with then the study that I've done, because both topics were discussed in both contexts. How we trick our mind. And it goes from the neuroscience and to our biology up until our beliefs and the mental states and anything that goes beyond that. So that's definitely something.
Can
I
you
have to
give
come
it?
back. Oh,
Can
sorry.
you? You've got a better memory than me. That's just a belief I know. But whilst I have this thought, can you give an example of how we trick ourselves and how we sabotage ourselves? And remember what you were going to say.
No pressure here. No pressure here. There's again many, but one thing that I keep on thinking about, and it's actually part of one of the trainings that I conduct when it comes down to behavioral assessments. We all know the DISC model. I think we
Yeah.
briefly as well spoke
Yeah.
about that. I use a different kind of tool called Mapstol, just more visual. It's just another tool for the same model. And in that training as well, we show a lot of pictures of perception of these psychological images where you can see like a couple of different images, like the young woman, the old woman, or like the Eskimo, and then something else. And every single time, I think I've now conducted that training like over 100 times. Every single time you get different answers from people, which shows how we look through our own glasses. We see who we are, what we are, and not what the reality is, and not what another one sees or perceives. And that leads to so much, first of all, then in the context of training, miscommunications, it's first of all, but it leads to so much unnecessary suffering almost, and headaches for yourself. Like if we would be able to let go a little bit more of the illusion that we think, that we know how people think, it would give you so much more peace of mind. And I think that's one of the big parts where we trick ourselves in believing that we know everything, in the perception of others, which is absolutely not true.
I think I love that, because I think that we make so many assumptions for very different reasons. I mean, if you're in business, then we make assumptions about the information that isn't there, and the reason why we make assumptions in that situation is because we don't want our boss to know that, or doubt that we can do the job, so we don't ask the questions that give us the clarity, that give us the full brief, that then lets us sleep at night. So in the work situation, and there's 100 reasons why we make assumptions, but I think in our everyday life, I think there's an impatience that we have that makes us make assumptions in the absence of clarifying what the truth is. And so often it comes from our position of defense as well, doesn't it? Of protection and defense of that we need to guess what the picture is that we're looking at. So we only get part of it. We need to guess what it is. Then we only associate with what we see as familiar. And then we think we can make predictions about what's going to happen. And meanwhile, we've still only got 5% of the picture, but we've made up the other 95%. And none of it is actually fact. And what a difference it makes when we clean out that thinking, doesn't it? I mean, you must, in your work, do you just want to share what your day job is? And then there's also what your passion is, which you infuse into your day job.
So currently, my day job, I am, how they call it officially, is a training and host wellness manager for a 5-star luxury property, Six Senses, Ziggy Bay, which is located in Oman. So a beautiful remote piece that we are located at. Absolutely stunning. Mentioned in the world 50 best hotels. So you
Ooh,
can, oh, yes, exactly,
I might have to put a
exactly.
picture on the screen when
Hmm.
I.
Oh, yes, please, definitely, because I'm very proud to say that I work for a company like that and for that specific property, definitely. So it's a three-sided job a little bit that I have over there. First of all, it's training, and then of course, like every single corporate job in HR, there is some kind of learning and development or training. So that's the brand standards, the onboarding of the new people, going from our line hosts up until our managers and our directors. And yeah, okay, I will save the other parts and for later, indeed, what I add into that next to. Secondly, it's about quality assurance. So we work with LQA. So doing the audits up until checklists, new processes, new guidelines. And then host wellness comes down to our employees because we call our employees hosts.
Love that.
From, of course, welcoming people into your house, you're hosting someone.
Yeah.
So it's a very personal approach that we are having, which you can see in every single aspect. And that's why Six Senses is very close to my heart. You have so many, or I have seen so many organizations going from hotels, but to different organizations, of course, as well. They all have this beautiful vision and mission statement and all these values that they preach to the outside world. But internally, it's quite often a different story. And I know that no organization is perfect. Everywhere there are the struggles, definitely. However, Six Senses really practices what they preach. And it's something I can appreciate a lot. So we really invest in the wellness of our hosts, going from 2 to 3 activities a day that we are organizing actually for them. To keep them active, we play on the 8 parts of wellness, including social, spiritual, mental, emotional, you name it. So we invest a lot in that. And that's why indeed I love my job.
And it comes when I met you, because I come from a hospitality
Yeah.
background, there was that, you do love it. It's without question, it shines from you. And the fact that you get to be at the heart of delivering those values, those cultural aspects, that you're at the heart of making sure it happens. And so so you'll get to see, you are immersed in people day in, day out, because you get to see people in terms of guests, but also the host. You get to see how we do those tricks to ourselves all the time, and then the sabotage that we do. And so, what do you think causes us to sabotage? What are the aspects or the main causes of sabotage?
I think for me, in my own perspective,
And
it's a
that you see
two-sided, yeah.
people's behavior as well.
Yeah. I think it's 2 main aspects. First of all, it's the limiting beliefs, which I started with this whole journey,
Yeah.
and maybe even as well the knowledge or the the knowledge around how that works and what it actually is, because I truly believe as well we cannot change anything, therefore we cannot learn anything, therefore we don't know. We always start with awareness in a certain way. That's why I feel privileged as my role as a trainer, or when I can stand in front of a group, because you are part of building that foundation, that block of sharing knowledge, which they then on can build further with experiences and making their own beliefs. So the limiting beliefs is one thing, and secondly, it's commitment in my way as well. It's commitment. Going back to something that we briefly said as well, we live right now in a time where everything is so rapidly accessible. Everything. That's one of the biggest things, I think, in when you look at the whole evolution of humankind, the last couple of decades, the leaps of evolution that has been made is insane when you think about it. Before you, and now we're going way back in time, of course, but you used to hunt a whole day for your meal. Now you sit on the couch and you deliver takeaway, and it's delivered to your door. In 10 minutes, you have every single option that you want. And that goes from meals up until dating. You open your phone and you swipe the whole evening away, and you can just pick and choose. I mean, we live in a society, in an environment where everything is so fast. So we became lazy, and not lazy in the meaning of that we don't get out of our couch. That's another kind of lazy, and I won't judge on this topic right here, right now. But I think lazy in our commitments, in the sacrifices that comes with commitments, in making a choice and standing for that choice. Everyone wants everything all the time so fast, and don't get to appreciate the process towards that goal, I think.
That's a whole podcast in that paragraph, because I completely agree that there's something in the journey, that the journey is life. It's not in the instant gratification that becomes so short, savored and lived. It's the journey. I've got a friend that's coming on the podcast in the next few weeks. He did an Ironman, and he didn't do it so he got a time at the end. He did it because of what he got to do in the preparation to do the Ironman, all the training that it enabled him to do. And so the Ironman wasn't about the one day. It was about the 6 months that went before it. And even when you think about when we're watching things on our phone, we now have videos that are 30 seconds long, so that people get instant information. If they have to watch something for an hour, it then in comparison feels too long. And I was just speaking to a lovely lady earlier who's going to have a Firewalk in January, and she was talking about the virtue of patience. We know when we're making bread, the yeast has to rise, and that takes time, and we have to sit with it so we get the outcome. But I think in life, we're missing so much richness because we're not putting that effort in, not only because we're being conditioned not to. And you hear it in language where people say, well, it's not going to be easy, but hard is not bad, or uncomfortable or discomfort or unfamiliar. It's not bad. It just isn't. You just have to be conscious. And it's a bit like we have got so passive with our thinking almost, that our consciousness is sleeping sometimes. And that's why we drive somewhere and we think, oh, how did I get here so quick? I don't remember going past those landmarks I normally go by. And that's because we're actually living a memory rather than in the present, aren't we? And so I love that. I would love to bring back, I don't know about you in your trainings, what I do is people don't know what we're doing in the training. So I can give them an experience of being present. Because so often our mind is jumping. We need to know everything, jumping along, and we don't get practiced in being present. And even a movie, we can fast forward parts rather than being in it. And we kind of keep taking ourselves out of discomfort because it requires us to be conscious. And sometimes being conscious is just uncomfortable.
Exactly that. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I've written present down. What are your thoughts about our feelings about being present? When you were just talking then about everything so quick and the commitment that's required towards the things that we want, the sacrifices. we can talk more about sacrifices as well, because it's not how we think it is. I'm going to guess I have an idea of sacrifices, but I think you've also got more as well. And so what is it we're avoiding by not being present?
What we are avoiding for ourselves, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it comes from indeed what you already now said as well, being uncomfortable. And that again comes down to knowledge in a certain way. A lot of people just don't know how to deal with being uncomfortable, how to deal with fear, because as well, being in the present or soaking all of that up might evoke some fear in some people as well. And I think that's also one of the aspects. People don't know how to deal with fear. And I think that's one of the beautiful things, again, that we can do with the empowerment trainings. The metaphors that we can use for people to learn how to deal with that and not to get over it. I think that's a very, very big misconception about being uncomfortable and being and having fear or anything of the negative emotions. They always talk about overcoming fear. I don't think it's about overcoming. I think it's about learning to embrace it and walk with it.
Yes.
And work with it. Do it with being uncomfortable. Do it feeling uncomfortable. Do it with fear. So I think by avoiding being in the present, we avoid ourselves to truly step into these emotions, which are so, so powerful for our growth, for our own development, for our new perspectives that we can develop or anything.
I completely agree that we're wanting to bypass our feelings, aren't we? And maybe there's been a lot of language around overcoming fear and breaking through fear, and I couldn't agree more that what we get to teach is the being familiar with fear and knowing that it's only a signpost. I know you do a lot of teaching around fear. I mean, that's what's wonderful about you doing the role you do with the passion and purpose that you have. Can you just share obviously in your words, what your life purpose is? Because I'm sure you know exactly what it is, especially if you fell in love at 20 with the empowerment world. Yeah, what's your purpose?
I can say this in a very clear one sentence, going then back to finding your why. Start with why, Simon Sinek, and Ikigai, the model, the Japanese lovely model as well, where I've sit for days and days and days with. So I came down to one sentence that I live by, which is to make sure no talent, passion, or dreams are going to waste or getting lost. And that's for myself and for others mostly. Because I think due to that lack of knowledge, lack of experiences, everything that we've now been talking about, lack of commitment, which follows, and of course after the knowledge, people, are so full of potential. And they just don't know it. They just don't know it. They can't access it. They don't know how to access it. And I'm so sure that there's so many great ideas out there just not being realized because they just don't have any idea what to do with it or how to let it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a little bit my purpose. And how that translates into something practical is something else, of course. But yeah, I want to make sure that no dreams, passion, talent goes to waste.
And, it just goes back to something you said earlier about how we trick ourselves. We don't see ourselves as we are, do we? And that's why, having people like you or you, where you can see people so clearly, and then able to put a mirror up and show, your wonderful hosts and the other people that you come into contact with the firewalking world that we're going to talk about, the value of somebody seeing who you are and saying, I see you and I see your potential, is like an ignition in somebody that is sometimes can be a bit like jump starting a car. You know, when you put the I don't know what you call the little plugs on, and then you jump start the car, and then it gets going. You think, right, now you're going, you've got to go. Keep going, keep that engine running, and keep going. And then and you've got them in their purpose. You've got them in their belief of what is true about themselves, and so. But sometimes I think that we like to trick ourselves that we're not that, because then we've got a responsibility to that. When we know that we are that, like your purpose that you've beautifully defined and articulated, you've got a responsibility to that. Now that you know it,
oh yes,
you are responsible for it, and with that comes the commitment to it. And the not sabotaging along the way.
Oh, yes. Absolutely, Lisa. Definitely. Very briefly, indeed, on that one person being the mirror for someone else. Excuse me. I truly believe in the impact of that one person that can see you, can see that potential that you might not see at that moment. That one person that can, it's a cliche, right? That people say and that you see passing on quotes and whatever. It only takes one person to believe in you. But I truly believe in that as well. It's something that I experienced firsthand as well. Going back to the early start of this whole journey, it took one person to look at me and just say, I see you, and I can see what you want to do, and I want to support that. And that's how it all started. Yet, because due to my own experience with that, growing along this whole journey and this career path that I'm walking, in the beginning I struggled a lot with wanting to be the savior, wanting to be the hero, the person who is going to see the potential in everyone and everything, and who is going to save everyone and everything. That's definitely a pitfall I used to make a lot in the beginning. And it took me during COVID, or early in the COVID period of time, I made a small side jump, and I was working for a very, very, very interesting youth organization where they support vulnerable youth in the age between 15 till 18 or 20-ish. And they were offering, and I'm specifically saying vulnerable youth to give a better idea. These were youngsters that were on the brink of falling out of society, talking about dealing with suicide or with abusive homes or whatever it might be. So tough stories and tough work to do, actually, mentally, emotionally. So I took there actually a job for a small period of time. And it was a whole program of a year that these youngsters committed to, which included a 1-week training, a very, very hardcore training, I can tell. These people had to be ready at 7 a.m. sharp, doing a whole run, doing a whole parkour outside, throwing up or not, you just keep going. It was very from the army mindset kind of vibe, at least the vibe was there a little bit. At the other hand, it was very structured. The content was absolutely brilliant as well. And that's where I learned, and the impact that it left on me, what that commitment is. Because this whole program was based on a couple of pillars that we used to call it, which are indeed as well commitment, responsibility, accountability, and choice. Mm-hmm. And it's something that got embedded in me, because in the first beginning I had a lot of resistance towards the program, and I thought, like, how did I got up here? I'm a people person wanting to give the golden gloves, carry someone with like all the fluff and all the puffiness around it, and making sure that no one gets hurt and anything like that. That's who I am as a person. I'm kind, I'm considerate. So how can we be so rough against these vulnerable youngsters? Because when I tell you this was a tough program, this was a tough program. These people had to stand up in a room with 15, 20 other youngsters, again, 20 volunteers behind them, standing up and talking about the most horrible stuff that they have been gone through. And then the trainer in the front would just step in front in their personal space. Personal space is something these people didn't know. They would step into the personal space and just look at her dead in the eye. Tell me what the smell was. Tell me how it felt. Tell me what they said. Tell me what they did in every single detail that you have, which was so shocking for me, was so confronting. But getting more and more into the program, and of course, learning more about all of the things, you see where they're coming from. And that whole thing is about indeed commitment and responsibility, which you just said as well. Once you discover something, that means that there comes a responsibility to take action and to bear the consequences. When you choose for something, you choose fully. And that's something that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
It was one of the most profound teachings that I chewed on for weeks afterwards. It was a whole conversation, because the volunteers, of course, get taught with the same principles as then the youngsters will go into a couple of weeks later. Brilliant, of course. Practice what you preach.
Yeah.
And it was one of my first trainings then to attend when I started. And there was a whole discussion about choosing fully. So the trainer was asking some questions like, when did you choose for something and you got a different result, a negative result? And there's a whole conversation about it, that negative result was your choice. And like this, a whole conversation gets going with a woman as well that stands up and is like, so what you're telling me is that I choose to get fired like last month from my job. And the trainer just looks her dead in the eye. Yes. Yes, that was your choice. Point is that when you choose for something like a job, when I apply for a job, do I know when I'm applying that there is a possibility that I get the job? Yes. That I won't get the job? Yes, that's a possibility. Do I know that if I get the job, I get less money than I expected or more money? Yes, both are possible. Do I know that I will get a promotion maybe one day there? Yes. Do I also know that maybe the company can get bankrupt one day? That I can lose my job? That something might happen? Whatever. These are all the consequences and all the possibilities in the choice that you're making. And that's where I refer back to this whole commitment thing of people. They choose partially. They choose for what they want. Relating then again back to the society that we live in. We skip the hard work. We skip the journey. We want the fast results, the fast dopamine things. So we don't choose fully for the whole experience. And that results in so much more on the long run. And I think I took a complete sidetrack with that.
I don't think so. I think what you said was incredible, because choose fully, because in that beautiful example you gave was the empowerment that comes with knowing that was a choice. All those different questions. Do I know that the money's this? Do I know that I may get the job or I may not? Do I know that I may get promoted or I may not? Yes. All those things that may or may not happen, and you chose. And the idea that choosing is such a powerful, empowering space to come from, because you go for a job and if you lose your job or the company goes bust and you get made redundant, you could feel like one of the options of feeling could be a victim. Another option of feeling could be liberation. Another option of feeling could be rejection. There are lots of different feelings we can choose, but based on our perspective that we made the choice to go in there means that we're empowered so that we can then make other choices. And so I think that just that great example just was such an empowering one for us to know that things don't happen to us. We choose where we place our life in any given moment. Life is not just bumping us around. Everything's our choice.
Yeah.
And I want to go right back to the beginning, because it's why I know you and how I know you. Where did that love affair take you? That love affair when you fell in love with the arrow brake and you came home to it, I want to say.
Mm.
Where has it taken to you, and what have been the most profound experiences you've seen along the way, either for you or on others?
Mm. Well, it's been a quite long journey. I mean, it's been a marriage now for 10 years, and I mean, marriages of 10 years are quite hard, right?
Oh, the
Um,
commitment.
so where it took me, again, you're going to ask me 10 years of my life in like what, 5 minutes that I probably have, or like three
We
minutes.
can have as
So
long as you like. I could talk to you and listen to you for hours. So I'm
thank you.
comfortable. Take your time.
Well, first of all, of course, it led me to experiencing more of the trainings itself, really like 10 years ago. So I just fully invested in that as well, getting every opportunity to follow every single training that they had. One of them was the most impactful, of course. It was a program where we went for 5 days into the mountains of Barcelona and get taught by the all the empowerment tools. So you would be there that would like 100 youngsters from like 5 different countries. Hundreds of people apply that they can join this program. Only a couple get selected. You had to make like an intake video and like convince the people why you should be there and stuff like that. It was kind of crazy actually if you think back about it. But that's where I did my first Firewalk as well. And having that full week of getting completely immersed
Yes, yeah, immerse. Yeah.
immersed into all these teachings, of course, awakens something. And it was right there in that moment that I said, okay, now I fully want to commit to this.
Yeah.
My first internship was coming up as well. And I asked the people responsible for those trainings, which was like a sub company, because how I got there actually was due to working in the hospitality industry, a company that is delivering actually students to high-end hospitality events, going from a festival to a marriage to a hotel, anything related to hospitality. So it was there that I got the opportunity to join those trainings, made a commitment for my internship, and I thought, well, this is quite a unique experience to learn from all of these people. So instead of my obligated 6 months that I need to do, I'm just going to ask for 3 years. In the end, they don't need to pay. There's nothing to lose for them. It will all be on me. So it can only give me something in teachings and knowledge. That's where I got in that internship. And that's how I started. Of course, then you're still a little bit in the ego bubble thinking like, oh, I now have this internship. Like, when can I give my first training? Where they looked at me as well, like, okay, just reality check, but first coming year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, you're just going to sit there in the back of the training room and you're going to write the whole training down. I want you to write every single word that I'm saying. I want you to write it down, make a whole script, make manuals, take charge of the whole materials that we're using, make a stock list, make sheets, make this, make that. Very from the consensus blue energy, making manuals and doing all of these things. And I could make coffee breaks. That was also one of my designated tasks in that moment. Which of course makes you doubt after some time. I mean, that's good for a couple of months, but after a couple of years, you start to think like, it's time for something else. Where I never regretted any day of that as well, because it had taught me so much. I know by heart. Ask me anything about any empowerment tool. I can give you from the specifics, the materials, the price, where to buy them, up until the whole training and what the goal is and what people will struggle with, whatever it might be. So it's really taught me so much. And that's again what I meant with that full commitment. And that's something that I rarely see in trainers, for example, as well. I'm gonna shoot myself probably a little bit with this one, maybe unpopular opinion, but I take my chances. A lot of trainers that I have met don't really have training experience. They come from somewhere in HR job or anything like that, and then they roll kind of into the L&D or training world, I would say it's in this way. But I was so privileged that I could actually join in my early 20s then, 2 to 3 years sitting in the back, listening to all of these people and just completely just learn, do nothing else than learn. At that moment, of course, you don't think about it like that. You get annoyed. But looking back at it, life only makes sense in reverse, right?
Yeah.
No, backwards. So that was definitely one of those moments. Then I got my job over there as well. So knowing that I was doing a whole back office, actually, let's say it like that, I got a job. But soon afterwards, COVID then, of course, happened.
Yeah.
So I went with my job then in the vulnerable youth industry, the program of the government that I was talking about. And I must say that left a serious impact as well. If I look back at this whole journey, my learning years, my learning stage, where I was just completely absorbing every single experience, every ounce of knowledge or anything that I could get, that then followed by this whole program and getting new perspectives, seeing how things can be done differently, learning new content as well, actually, and mostly as well, learning even more training skills. I can say that these two really merged together for me to be where I am. When people are evaluating my training style, or when I give trainings, the feedback that I get, what I hear is really this beautiful correlation between the teachings and the things that I got from these learning years and that youth program that I had done with those trainers. Like that combination of that really laid a beautiful foundation. Alongside, I kept actually in contact with a couple of people from my previous job, from the empowerment trainings. And they started very soon with their own company, which I joined as well as a freelancer. I was doing, again, the back office as well, arranging all of these things, and had the opportunity to go to quite some cool trainings. In the meantime, I was doing some other trainings myself as well for a couple of other organizations back in Belgium, always related to either youngsters,
Yeah.
youth, my big passion, and empowerment or empowerment. So two passions combined. And one of those assignments that I got from that company, they had sent me to Seychelles. Because again, knowing who I am, youngsters, one of my big things, my allergy, the school system, empowerment, and all of these things actually combined led to a dream, a shared dream that we had of building our own academy. Mostly for me as well, like it was something that it sets my heart and my soul on fire, like designing your own academy with the things that you think might benefit people. Not therefore that it's completely right. There is no right and wrong in these things, but just contributing to that and set up something. So that's how I got in Seychelles, because there, Hilton at that time, so again, hospitality, going back to the roots, was planning to set up their own hospitality academy for young locals of the islands nearby, the Seychelles. And that's how I landed up in Seychelles, giving empowerment trainings to youngsters in the academy. And even then, it got so out of hand. I fell in love again with the islands. In 2 hours, once again, arriving in Seychelles, I felt so at home, so at ease, that it just gently flowed into me staying over there. I stayed in the end 2 years over there, taking over the full academy, managing it, but also designing or co-designing the whole program, making it a real thing, a real academy actually. And these were 3 big milestones looking back at that, at this whole journey, I think. Yeah.
And it feels to me, listening to your journey, which, you know, we've worked out that you're 30. It feels to me that you have followed your intuition, your inner compass that has taken you to these almost perfect places for you. That you, when you talk about flow, that to me always feels like that you're aligned with where you're at. Otherwise, we feel resistance and we feel resentment and we feel inner conflict and inner criticism. But I hear so much of you being able to be with purpose, on purpose, and through purpose in all these different areas. And how do you teach? Because you've been very modest about it. You are a Firewalking and Empowerment Instructor, trainer of instructors now. And so, and I know there are people out there that have that same title and have never run a Firewalk. And for me, I see that they've done that training because they want to deepen their growth, not necessarily go out and teach instructors, because we would hope that in this world we've all got integrity and that we need to deliver Firewalks before we can then become a trainer of instructors. Now, I remember saying to you when I met you, have you run a Firewalk? And you went, by way of 200, I think were your exact words. And I thought, good for you. Good for you for choosing to be committed, to be responsible for your learning, for being accountable for your path, and then doing the training. So my question for you in that context, now that people know where the firewalking fits, how does, in your view, with all the participants you've led, facilitated, witnessed, how does walking over fire, we'll use the fire for this example, make a difference to trusting your own inner compass?
Right. Beautiful question. Huh? That's the purpose of what we're doing with the fire. It's all about, again, letting a certain facade down, I think, letting down a certain mask.
Drop the mask.
Drop the mask, indeed. Being in the present. Once again, it's one of the tools that we can use for people to really, really experience what it's like to be in the present moment, without approaching it rationally. Meditation, breath work, whatever it might be, yoga, but doing, the act of doing, of movements, and therefore being in the present, which can work for a lot of people. And again, what you witness, of course, with firewalking is literally the fire in people's eyes when they have walked over. Accomplishing something, doing something they think they can't. And it's such I don't have words for it to describe what that momentum is, how that feels to see those people. Because yes, 200 firewalks, please, it's not all on me. I mean, it's not that I have led 200 firewalks all by myself. Definitely not over all these years. But indeed, being part of the fire tenders, trainer myself, then indeed as well. All the mixtures amongst all these firewalks, you're always part of it. You always see it. You're always there to witness. And even though that you don't know what's going on sometimes in the training room because you're taking care of the fire, you're the fire tender in that situation. You even then can see the impact or what it does or what the people are going through when they have walked. And again, that's what it's all about, making people aware of their full potential, giving them a real life experience of doing something that they thought they can't. And breaking down that first limiting belief that we all have. We all have somewhere a limiting belief about something that we can't do. So being part of that process to start rebuilding that, making something else out of that, is such a gift.
It really is. And I think when people always describe the firewalking experience of that they're standing there looking at the coals, and then somehow their feet move round and their mind is kind of watching their body. They're knowing, it's that, and that's how I see the inner compass working, where somehow the soul, the heart, the being has a knowing beyond the mind's comprehension, because the mind wanting to keep you safe, and then there's a trust that that person has in the trainer, in the facilitator, in the team of, there's a lot I don't know, but I'm also going to trust that I know enough to take these steps. And the steps are never about walking over the fire, are they? The steps are about the first step of trusting yourself. Because once you step on the coals without self-trust, you're in your mind of questioning. You've gone into giving yourself an option out, and with self-trust you just move forward. And I think
And I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you indeed. I'm so
do.
sorry for this, because what you say indeed with that first step that you're making, that first thing that you're doing indeed, before that comes the choice.
Yeah.
You make the choice to embrace it, to step over it, with or without knowing. But it's a choice that you make.
Yeah.
In that moment. And that's a full choice as well.
Yeah.
When you start to walk, you walk.
Yeah.
It's not a pinch in the pool and like tiptoeing or anything like that. You walk. When you break the arrow, you break. You step forward.
Yeah.
And there's so much power indeed in that decision as well, because we always, or often indeed when I talk with other colleagues and Firewalk instructors, we always talk about the face or the emotion that you see when people have walked at the end of the Firewalk, but then the face and the eyes when they are about to walk, when they are standing in front, and you can see that decision that they're making. You can see how the people are going from doubt and fear to acceptance and decision, and just let's do this. And oh, I love it. I love
Absolutely. I think that, and then there's a knowing, as you talked about, there's a knowing that they have about themselves that they can't unknow. And it's helping them link what happened in their mind that led them forwards, that they can remember that success model that they've got, not only in their mind, but in their being, of just trusting when they have that same feeling again to move forward with purpose and intention. And it's a great phrase to have for life, isn't it, really? If I've walked on fire, then I can do anything. But it's not anything recklessly, it's anything with alignment, isn't it? And so we need to have an episode 2, but for closing episode 1 of the Tack episode, what would be one bit of wisdom that somebody could keep in their mind that reminds them of their limitless potential, which is your part of your purpose? What can they keep in their mind that is just that seed that keeps reminding them of who they are, beyond the illusion that they might choose to live with?
Oh, wow. The only thing that pops in my head and that I have to think about is this quote. I think it's from Albert Einstein. I think it's him that said it. We can't solve problems with the same kind of thinking that we use to create them with.
Oh, love that.
And I think that's for me as well one of the things that keeps my mind open, that keeps me going, that keeps me challenged, that keeps me curious. Because if there's a problem, then we are challenged ourselves to if we, and that's another quote actually that intervenes with that, if we cannot longer change the situations, if we cannot longer change the situation, we are forced to change ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that's what it's all about. We can dwell so much in circumstances, in what happens to us, which is fair, which is valid, which is therefore not less true or less impactful or anything of that. But then you have a choice. Is that what's going to be it? Or will you choose something else? And it always comes down to us. We can blame as much as we want other people, circumstances, environments, but the only person that can change something about it is you. So the only one responsible for it is us in the end. And it's a hard one. And I had a very long conversation with a friend about this recently even. It's a very, very hard one. Because that means you're responsible for all the misery that happens in your life as well.
Thank God.
And thank God, exactly. Because it feels empowering.
Yes.
To me, it feels empowering knowing that I'm responsible for creating it. Because if I'm responsible for creating it, that means that I will be and I can be responsible for solving it as well and changing something and doing.
And creating something even more amazing.
Exactly.
But if we're in blame, then we're a victim to it, and we also have no power over a better life. Yeah. So I love both of those, and you can't solve the problem with the same thinking that created it. Is an example of, well, that tells people that we can choose our thinking, and that's also a brilliant bow on all of this, which was what we started with, which was about how we trick our minds trickers, or we trick our minds, which is about we're completely in control of all of our thinking.
Oh, yes.
All of it. And I was just saying to a lady earlier that we have a choice over all of our thinking, and when we know that, then we can choose the thinking that's resourceful. And actually, how much clearing out of minds. I mean, I help a lot of very senior people understand their own mind and their own thinking, and then help them explore it as they say, oh yeah, I made that bit up, and it's actually got in the way quite a bit. And then, well, we'll just take that out. Like we're taking furniture out of our room to create the space to then dance. And so I love both those. I love both those sayings.
Can I still add something small? I'm so sorry. Because I know that's something I discovered indeed, like talking about this more and more recently, actually, about this whole topic of choosing and commitment and anything like that in the broad context that we've now been talking about. I feel there's always a lot of resistance towards that topic, exactly for the reasons that we're now naming it, being responsible then for your own actions and whatever. Like I feel that a lot of people are really challenged to the core with this whole thought process that I'm spitting out there. So I do want to get the nuance in something that I think is very important to this whole conversation. This whole choosing thing, and when we talk about as well, we choose our own thoughts, for example, which definitely is, and the thoughts and the actions that are driving that. However, sometimes as well, we don't choose, for example, how to feel in a certain way. And I love to always give that example of jealousy. I cannot choose to not feel jealous. It's an emotion that just overcomes me. But I do have a choice to act on it or not. So even though that we're not always fully in control, responsible, accountable for the things that are coming to us in form of emotions or maybe even events, yet the choice still remains the same thing, that you choose what to do with it. And that's just a small nuance that I did not want to let
It's
pass
it's
by.
it's really powerful, actually, that whole piece, which is you have the feeling, but you don't have to act upon it. You can take a moment, you can be curious about it, and then you can choose your action. And in fact, I've just released an article. Oh no, the article comes out tomorrow, but a blog on my website about choose your response. Don't leave it on
Yes,
auto something. I can't remember. Um,
I love that.
yeah, and so I think what I'd love to do, and if our listeners and viewers would like it as well, is if we have an episode 2 on exploring fear and our whole mind around fear.
Mm.
So I'm going to book you in the diary
Oh,
in the
yeah.
next couple of weeks for fear.
I love that.
So thank you so much. There's been so much richness. We've gone from transpersonal psychology, spirituality, being present, purpose, our marriage with our purpose, that square centimeter chance, your school system allergy, dropping the mask, our inner compass. We've been on a journey and I've
Mm.
loved it. Absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and wisdom with us, Kat Tack.
It was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. It gives me a great boost of energy as well, talking about all of these things with you. So thank you for having me. And I'm sure down for an episode 2.
Oh, we're booking it in the diary the minute
Amazing.
this I stop recording.
Okay, good. I hang on for a minute.
Bye for now, everybody.
Bye.